The pre-op room at Cedars-Sinai was supposed to be peaceful. Soft beeping of monitors, whispered conversations between nurses, the gentle hum of medical equipment. What I hadn't expected was to hear my sons planning to carve up my life's work while I was under anesthesia. "Dad's not waking up anytime soon." My eldest son Richard's voice drifted through the door, clear and calculating. "Let's sign the transfer papers now." I kept my eyes closed, though the sedative hadn't fully kicked in yet. 30 years of building Harrison Industries from a small electronics repair shop to a multi-million-dollar technology firm, and this was how my sons saw it. Carrion to be picked over while I was down. "The surgery is supposed to take 6 hours," my younger son Michael added. "Triple bypass isn't exactly a quick procedure. We'll have everything transferred before he's even in recovery." "You brought the documents?" Richard asked. "Everything. Power of attorney, share transfers, the works. Jake Morrison from legal drew them up. Cost me $5,000, but he guaranteed they'll hold up." Jake Morrison. I'd hired him fresh out of law school, mentored him, promoted him to senior counsel. Another betrayal to add to the list. "What about Patricia?" Michael asked, referring to my daughter. "She'll fight this. She's in London on business. By the time she gets back, it'll be done. Besides, she only has 15% shares. We have 35% each. Together, we control the company." What they didn't know was that I'd already moved everything to a trust, and they weren't the beneficiaries. 3 weeks ago, I'd sat in my attorney's office. Not Jake Morrison, but Elizabeth Warren, a lawyer my sons didn't know existed. She'd looked at me over her glasses with concern. "You sure about this, William? Disinheriting your sons is a serious decision." "I'm not disinheriting them," I'd corrected. "I'm protecting the company from them. They'll each receive a generous monthly allowance from the trust. But control? That goes to people who've actually earned it." The irony was, I'd discovered their plan by accident. Michael had left his email open on my computer after helping me with some files. The entire conspiracy was there. Messages between him and Richard, plans to force me into retirement, discussions about dividing the company assets. They'd been planning for months, waiting for an opportunity. My heart surgery had seemed like the perfect chance. The nurse helped me sit up. Maria, according to her badge, a woman about my daughter's age with kind eyes and steady hands. "Mr. Harrison? Are you all right? Your heart rate spiked." I opened my eyes fully, decision made. "Maria, I need you to do something for me. It's important." She leaned closer, concern evident on her face. "Shall I call your lawyer now, Mr. Harrison?" she asked after I'd whispered my request. "Please. Elizabeth Warren. Her card is in my wallet. Tell her the Hawks are circling." Maria nodded, professional despite the strange request. "I'll call right away. But Mr. Harrison, your surgery can wait 20 minutes, I said firmly. "This can't." She squeezed my hand and left. Through the door, I could still hear my sons. "Dad's secretary has all the passwords," Richard was saying. "I convinced her he wanted us to have them in case of emergency. We can access everything, bank accounts, investment portfolios, the works." "What about the house?" Michael asked. "Mom left it to him in her will, but once we have power of attorney, we can transfer it to us. Market value's around $4 million now. My house, where their mother had died in my arms 5 years ago, where they'd taken their first steps, had their birthday parties, brought their dates to meet us. Just another asset to them now." Elizabeth arrived 15 minutes later, her silver hair perfectly coiffed despite the early morning hour. My sons were still in the hallway, too busy planning their takeover to notice her arrival. "William," she said quietly, closing the door behind her. "Maria said the Hawks are circling?" "Outside that door," I confirmed. "They're planning to use the surgery to take everything." She smiled, a sharp, predatory expression I'd seen her wear in courtrooms. "Good thing we already clipped their wings. The trust documents were finalized last week. Shall we inform them?" "Not yet," I said. "Let them show their hand first. But I want you here during the surgery. Watch them. Document everything they do." "With pleasure. Who knows about the trust?" "You, me, and the new board of trustees. Patricia doesn't even know yet. I wanted to surprise her when she got back from London." "And the trustees?" "Margaret Chun, my CFO for 20 years. Roberto Silva, who started as a janitor and worked his way up to VP of Operations. Dr. James Park, who's been with the company since the beginning. People who built Harrison Industries with me, not those who expect to inherit it." Elizabeth made notes. "The boys will contest this." "Let them. I have 30 years of evidence showing they've never worked a day in the company. Never showed interest beyond their dividend checks. Meanwhile, Patricia runs our entire European division. Speaking of which, Elizabeth pulled out her phone. Should I call her? After the surgery. I don't want her worried and flying back. She has the Henderson deal to close. A knock at the door interrupted us. Dr. Patel entered, my cardiac surgeon for the past 10 years. William, we need to get you into surgery soon. Your condition. I know, Raj. 5 more minutes. He frowned but nodded. 5 minutes. No more. As he left, I heard Richard's voice rise. The anesthesiologist says they're taking him in now. Perfect timing. I have the conference room booked at the office, Michael added. We'll sign everything there while he's under. By the time he wakes up, if he wakes up, we'll control everything. If he wakes up, the casual cruelty of it hit harder than any physical pain. Elizabeth, I said quietly, make sure Patricia knows I love her. And make sure those 2 vultures get exactly what they deserve. Nothing more, nothing less. I'll handle everything, she promised. Now go get that heart fixed. You've got a company to run when you wake up. They wheeled me past my sons in the hallway. Both put on concerned faces, Richard even reaching for my hand. We'll be right here, Dad, he said. Don't worry about anything. We'll take care of everything. I'm counting on it, I replied, letting them interpret that however they wanted. The last thing I saw before the anesthesia took hold was Elizabeth taking a seat in the waiting room, her briefcase at her feet, phone already in hand. The hawks might be circling, but the eagle had landed. I woke up 12 hours later, groggy but alive. The first face I saw was Patricia's, tears streaming down her cheeks. Dad. Thank God. When Elizabeth called. Sure, I managed throat dry. How bad? The surgery went perfectly, she said. But Dad, Richard, and Michael. I know. No, you don't. Her face hardened. They went to the office while you were in surgery. Tried to transfer all the company shares to themselves. Fired Margaret and Roberto. Changed the locks on your office. I almost laughed, but it hurt too much. And Elizabeth was magnificent. She let them do it all. Let them sign every document, make every change. Then she walked into the boardroom with the trust papers and a court injunction. Tell me everything. Patricia pulled out her phone, showing me a video. Someone, probably Margaret, had filmed the whole thing. The conference room at Harrison Industries, my sons at the head of the table, champagne glasses raised. Papers spread everywhere. Then Elizabeth entering with 2 security guards and a judge. Gentlemen, Elizabeth's voice was crystal clear on the recording. I'm here to inform you that as of 3 weeks ago, Harrison Industries has been placed in an irrevocable trust. You've just spent 6 hours conducting illegal transfers of assets you don't own. Richard's face went from triumph to shock to rage in seconds. That's impossible. We have power of attorney. Obtained through fraud while Mr. Harrison was under duress, Elizabeth continued. Additionally, the shares you're attempting to transfer? They were moved to the trust weeks ago. You own nothing but the paper you're signing. He can't do this. Michael shouted. We're his sons. We have rights. You have what your father chose to give you, the judge said. Which, according to these documents, is a monthly allowance of $10,000 each, contingent on not challenging the trust or attempting to interfere with company operations. 10,000. Richard's voice cracked. That's nothing. It's more than you've earned, Elizabeth replied coolly. Would you prefer we discuss the attempted fraud charges? Or the conspiracy to commit elder abuse? The video ended with my sons being escorted out by security, their champagne celebration turned to ashes. They've been calling non-stop, Patricia said. Demanding to see you. Let them wait, I said. How's the company? Margaret stepped in as interim CEO, just as the trust outlined. Roberto and Dr. Park have been handling operations. Stock price actually went up when news broke that Richard and Michael were out. And Jake Morrison? Fired and facing disbarment. Elizabeth filed ethics complaints with the state bar. I leaned back, exhausted but oddly at peace. You know you're the trust's primary beneficiary, right? After the board determines you're ready, controlling interest passes to you. Patricia's eyes widened. Dad, you've earned it. 15 years of actually working in the company. Building our European division from nothing. Never once asking for special treatment because you're my daughter. What about Richard and Michael? They'll get their allowance. Enough to live comfortably if they're smart. Not enough to live like kings without working. They'll hate you. They already do. They just hid it better before. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maria, my nurse from pre-op, entered with a smile. You have visitors, Mr. Harrison. Should I send them away? Who is it? Two men who claim to be your sons. They're quite insistent. I thought about it. Part of me wanted to see them, to confront them about their betrayal. But another part, the part that had built a company on hard work and integrity, knew there was nothing to say. Tell them visiting hours are for family only, I said finally. And Maria? Thank you for making that call. She winked and left. Patricia squeezed my hand. That was cold, Dad. Was it? They were ready to pick my bones while I was on an operating table. They fired people who'd been with us for decades. They saw my potential death as a business opportunity. When did you know? She asked. About their plans? Months ago. But I hoped I was wrong. That maybe they'd prove me wrong. Instead, they proved me right in the worst possible way. What happens now? Now, you run the European division for another year. The board evaluates your performance. If they approve, and they will, you become CEO. Margaret, Roberto, and Dr. Park will guide you, but it'll be your company to run. And my brothers will hopefully learn that money earned tastes better than money stolen. Though I doubt it. The next weeks were a blur of recovery and legal battles. Richard and Michael tried everything, contested the trust, claimed I was mentally incompetent, even tried to get Patricia on their side. Each attempt failed spectacularly. The trust was airtight. Elizabeth had recordings of me creating it, multiple doctors attesting to my mental clarity, and a paper trail showing my son's conspiracy. The judge not only upheld the trust, but issued restraining orders preventing them from coming within 500 feet of Harrison Industries properties. 3 months post-surgery, I attended my first board meeting. Richard and Michael had been sending letters through their lawyers, alternating between threats and pleas. I read each one, then filed them away. You sure you don't want to reconcile? Margaret asked after the meeting. They're still your sons. My sons died the day they decided my death was a business opportunity, I replied. These are just strangers who share my DNA. That's harsh. Is it? How many employees would they have fired to fund their lifestyles? How many families would have suffered? How many decades of work would they have destroyed? Fair point. The real test came 6 months later. Michael showed up at my house, looking haggard. The restraining order only covered company property. Dad, please. I'm broke. The allowance isn't enough. Get a job, I suggested. Nobody will hire me. Word got out about what we did. I'm blacklisted everywhere. Consequences, I said simply. You tried to steal a company while I was having heart surgery. What did you expect? I expected my father to forgive me, he shouted. Forgiveness requires repentance. All I see is regret that you got caught. Patricia turned you against us, he accused. Patricia was in London, building our business while you were building your conspiracy. She turned no one against you. You did that all by yourselves. He left, slamming the door. Richard never even tried to visit. A year later, at the annual shareholder meeting, I officially stepped down as CEO. Patricia took the helm with unanimous board approval. Her first act was to create an employee profit-sharing program, something I'd always wanted to do but never pushed hard enough for. Why didn't you tell me about the trust earlier? She asked after the ceremony. I could have helped, because I needed to see what they'd do when they thought no one was watching, I replied. And because you needed to be in London, proving yourself without any shadow of nepotism. What if they hadn't tried anything? Then the trust would have included them. It was designed to be flexible until activated. Their greed activated it. Do you regret it? I thought about the question, really thought about it. 2 sons who'd shown their true colors. A company saved from their incompetence. A daughter who'd earned her position through merit, not birthright. My only regret, I said finally, is that their mother isn't here to see what you've become. She would be so proud. She'd be heartbroken about Richard and Michael. Yes, I agreed. But she'd understand. She always said actions reveal character. Their actions revealed theirs. The company thrived under Patricia's leadership. She promoted Margaret to president, brought in fresh talent, and expanded into markets Richard and Michael would have abandoned for quick profits. As for my sons, Richard eventually found work selling cars in another state. Michael married money, a widow 20 years his senior, who didn't know his history. They each still received their monthly allowance, deposited automatically into accounts they couldn't access for any lump sum. Sometimes I wondered if I'd been too harsh. Then I'd remember their voices in that hospital corridor, casually discussing my potential death like a business merger. I'd remember them firing loyal employees while I was under anesthesia. I'd remember the champagne toast over what they thought was my empire's corpse. The trust hadn't just saved my company. It had revealed the truth about my children. One who'd earned everything through work and dedication, and two who felt entitled to everything simply by existing. In the end, Harrison Industries remained in the family. Just not the family my sons expected. Because real family, the kind worth leaving a legacy to, is defined by loyalty, work, and love. Not by blood and greed. The hawks had circled, thinking the eagle was dying. They'd forgotten that even wounded eagles have talons. And more importantly, they'd forgotten that eagles teach their true offspring to fly on their own wings, not feast on the fallen. Patricia soared. Richard and Michael? They learned what happens when you mistake a moment's weakness for permanent defeat. The company was safe, my legacy preserved, and my heart, repaired by surgery and hardened by betrayal, beat on, a little scarred, but stronger for surviving both the physical and emotional attacks. Sometimes the best inheritance you can leave your children is the knowledge that nothing comes free, especially not the life's work of someone you were ready to bury